All right, so hi everyone, and welcome again to my audiovisual channel. Um, Thank you very much, Nick. Welcome to Nick Senium. Welcome to my podcast, A Conversation About
Hey.
Art. You are episode 31. Please tell our listeners and viewers who you are and what you do.
My name is Nick, or my real name is Yannick, and I'm a painter, I would say, from Germany.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's what yeah.
Okay. All right, so a painter. Um, I feel like you've mentioned before, I think I've seen in your stories or somewhere on Instagram about something about regarding Odd Nerdrum.
hmm
Um, I'd like it if you talked a little bit about that, because he's considered like a modern master type guy,
Exactly. Yeah.
and yeah, and but at the same time, I feel like he does something that an art teacher called pastiche. I think I'm not sure.
hmm
No, I don't even remember the word now. Is it kitsch? Something
hmm
about how he kind of tries to, what was it, reproduce, he likes Rembrandt, and but he also dresses in a way that it's like, bordering on comical, or there's something about comical in there. I don't know. I want you to tell me a little bit about why you like him,
Um,
and why you think you're inspired by him.
well, let me tell you how it started with him, or how I
Okay.
discovered him. I initially discovered him through a student of his, a wonderful painter, Melisa. And previously, I was just sort of working on very directionless paintings, just trying this style, trying that style, and really trying hard to find a style at all. My
Mm,
personal style, I had this story in my head that every artist has to have his personal style,
mm,
and I got very caught up in that. And so after a while, I first discovered Rembrandt and just um, tried to study Rembrandt paintings for about a year previously. And then on Instagram, I discovered through this student, Odd Nerdrum's work.
mm.
And his work had something very interesting to me. It struck a nerve, definitely. For a reason I can't even explain much, is the
Mm.
thing. It definitely has this timeless quality of trying or even succeeding in many regards to work in this line of Rembrandt and late Titian. And it's not, I can't tell you rationally what I like so much about his work.
Can you tell me irrationally what it is you think you like about it?
He, I think he found a way to combine a very symbolic internal world with the external world, which he
Mm,
does absolutely beautifully, in my opinion. It's just he has this mood or vibe of reality gets a bit looser than it is in real life, and
mm,
the dreams and these archetypes flow through and manifest themselves into these figures that which are in a sense larger than life almost.
mm, mm. Okay. Um, okay. All right. So, I probably should have started with your painting stuff,
Mhm.
but I was very curious about your taste for Odd Nerdrum, so I couldn't help myself, and I started there. All right.
Yeah.
So,
I'm
um,
not a
when
student yet, by the way. So
you're not a student of his?
I'm not a student yet.
Ah,
I'm going later this year. So
oh, that's
yeah,
cool.
I was invited.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
I'll bet that's exciting.
It's very exciting, and it was very welcomed, because I had like uh, an odyssey of trying to apply to art schools, and I also applied this year to a very good school in Germany, in Dresden.
Mm.
Very long history of German art. Otto Dix and Caspar David Friedrich, for example,
Oh.
were teachers there.
Uh,
Unfortunately, I got
Otto Dix taught there?
taught there and was a
That's
student.
cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
All
Unfortunately,
right.
they didn't like my stuff much. Anyways, I got denied, and 2 days later, I finally got a response from the Nerdrum school, which
Uh-huh.
gave me a bit of new hope.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's arguably better in a way.
It's more fitting, I would say, probably.
Yeah, more fit. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's,
More fitting because I mean, I do get the impression that you're, you know, like what he is doing and
I really,
respect him.
I,
Yeah.
I respect him, and I respect his philosophy very
Hmm.
much. Him personally,
Hmm.
I think what he does personally is very good.
Okay, okay, that's really cool. I'm like excited for you. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm.
All right. Okay, okay. So then I still want to. I mean, like I said, I should have started with the asking you about painting, but I was very curious about your thoughts on Odd Nerdrum. But okay, so then tell me how you got into painting.
Well, I guess I sort of slipped into it. It's actually quite boring, I would say. The
Uh-huh.
usual response of I always was drawing as a kid, yada yada.
Hmm.
Um, but actual painting, I started not that long ago. It should be right before the pandemic,
Okay.
or perhaps a year before,
Okay.
where I painted mostly with acrylics, which I almost immediately abandoned at all. That's
Hmm.
didn't work out.
Uh-huh.
And my grandpa was always pushing me because he used to paint in a sort of expressionistic way, not decently, but he was always, oh, you should try oil paints. And I was like, ah, but that's so difficult. You have to clean your brushes.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
but that's, I didn't think, yeah, it's just, but then I discovered Rembrandt, of course, which you probably can see very well in my work.
Yeah.
And that totally gripped me, and I immediately realized you cannot achieve that with acrylic paint. But I really, really want to achieve that. What he
Mm-hmm.
does, the sort of almost alchemy it is, I would say. And the subject of his paintings interested me, but what interested me more is the way he could replicate life through his technique. And that was really the first thing that really, really gripped me.
Okay, so then in that case, how long would you say you've been painting with oil paints? Because you said just before the pandemic, so what, 2, 3 years? Just over.
2019, 20, something like that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, mhm. So why is it in your opinion that whatever Rembrandt was doing can't be done with acrylics? Is it because they dry faster?
Well, that's one reason, but you're also very, very limited in terms of what you can do with the paint itself. It's and also the way it behaves. So it just doesn't flow out of the brush the way oil does.
Mm.
And just by the fact that it's water based, essentially, your medium would be water and not oil.
Okay.
And it's just it could work for some people. Definitely, it just didn't work for me. Maybe some could even make it like Rembrandt, but I'm a little bit old-fashioned. Don't try to. If you have the solution here, just go that way.
Okay. I mean, I agree. I'm sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Don't make it more difficult for yourself, essentially.
Yes, yes. Okay. No, that makes sense as a reason to go with the same medium that Rembrandt used.
Mhm.
And well, I mean, there's definitely, I mean, I'm aware that there's a difference between oil paints and acrylic paints. Obviously, one is water-based and the other one is oil-based, but at the same time, acrylic undeniably has a plastic sort of feeling to it.
Mhm.
And oil paints, although I mean, I'm not that familiar with the origin of pigments or anything. Oil paint has, and I mean, I've said this before in previous episodes about how it has like a quality of buttercream, like the frosting that you put on cake
Exactly.
and this type of stuff, where it's a creaminess that acrylic paint just doesn't physically cannot have
Mhm.
because of all the physical differences in the composition. Okay. All right. So even though it hasn't been very long since, so all right. So wait. So then, did the discovery of Rembrandt and oil paint, are those around the same time? Like, would you say it's also around three
I would
years?
say it's exactly. Um, that could be. I have a terrible memory. I'm so sorry. It
No
could be
worries.
2018 where I discovered
Pretty
Rembrandt.
close overlap then.
Yes. Then I tried to replicate it with acrylics. It just did not work out at all.
Hmm.
And then I somewhat quickly, slipping into 2019, um, got into oil
Okay.
paints.
Okay. So you're pretty early in the search that
Mm.
this whatever it is that you're searching for, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, but all right. I mean, you could have just as well, I guess, given it up or gotten bored or whatever it is. So then, even though it's relatively early on in this part of your journey, like, why do you think it's been about 3 years, almost 4 years, and part of the thing, and you're still kind of, it's like, what are you looking for? What do you think you're trying to do with oil paints and the whatever it is that Rembrandt and what Odd Nerdrum kind of, what do you think they make you want to look for?
That's a very difficult question. The short answer would be I don't know yet what I'm looking
Uh-huh.
for. um, Maybe the more artificial answer to give would be it's just it's just a feeling that I have to go into this direction. It's not words. Words are not my medium.
Mm.
Music, even though I can play music instruments, it's not my language. And it seems that just visual stuff, visual things, that's just the way I have to go with
Hmm.
my life and my work. Yeah.
Okay. That's perfectly fair, especially the I don't know part, and like having like that just, I don't know, unexplained urge to do something in a specific way. Um and well, this is related to what we were musing about earlier about acrylics and oils, because it might have something to do with I don't know, something regarding the doing the work in oil. But I'm not sure, and that's, you can obviously mix the same colors in acrylics as you can in oil paint,
Mhm.
but I'm not sure whether acrylics really have that warmth that oil paints can do.
I've seen some painters make it shine very well.
Acrylics.
Acrylics, yes.
Okay. Hmm. Hmm.
what I think is missing for me is the play of texture together with translucency.
Mm. Oh yeah, the transparency. Yeah.
Yes, and the way you can make oil paints behave in very different ways by mixing and making, especially if you make it yourself.
Mm. Do you
So
mix your paints yourself? You make the
I do,
pigment?
yeah, I do, yeah,
Oh, that's
occasionally.
cool.
Yeah, especially the whites. I've been looking for the perfect white for almost the entire time I was painting.
Yeah. Right. So
Um,
there was something about that. I think recently you did find something really good recently. No.
I did find something really good. It's almost too good to trust in a way, because I haven't found too much information about it.
Mhm.
It's called lithopone white.
Mhm.
It's very often used as a filler medium, filler pigment.
Uh,
It's essentially zinc sulfate and something else. So apparently it doesn't have the issues normal zinc white, zinc oxide has with the cracking and all that, the catastrophes that can happen, apparently, all
yeah.
those
Yeah.
horror stories. And it also doesn't have the titanium white is extremely violent almost in the way it takes over all your color. It's
Mm. Mhm. Is it
it's
because it's really opaque or
it's so
something?
opaque. It's so
Okay.
opaque, and your colors get very chalky. And
Oh, that sucks.
especially if you try to paint with a limited palette,
Mm.
I have an issue. I always had the issue of I saw that many painters tried to paint like Zorn,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
but their paintings tended to go towards purple for some reason,
Purple?
purple pinkish, and I never liked that look for some reason. So, and I figured that it probably has to do with titanium mixing with the red or the black,
Okay.
and just the opaqueness. It creates these purples, and it just didn't work for me. So I was looking and looking and looking, and I can't paint with lead for one reason, because it's not allowed in Germany.
Well, it's
And
poison. It's really,
essentially, yeah,
yeah.
essentially. But it's also the best pigment. So perhaps God is like, here's the perfect solution, but it comes with a price.
Yeah, yeah. Wait, so then this white that you're talking about, I don't remember the name you said. Is it was it recently invented or discovered or something?
It's quite old, apparently, just not commonly used in artist paint, more like industrial stuff.
I see. Okay, so then I guess one of the issues with that is that you don't know the behavior of it long term.
I do not know. Trust on the few research papers that have been published on it, which is very limited.
Mm.
But let's see. Little
Yeah,
trust
yeah.
is necessary, I think.
Yeah, because like it's it's kind of funny about the longevity of artwork because
Mhm,
it's like even if you live like a really long time, it'll be like just under a century, which is not
mhm,
that long. It's like I mean I don't know if maybe you can tell me about this in a little bit. Um, sometimes artists worry about how their work is going to continue to live on after they're gone. And sometimes that's one of the purposes of artists making work. They want their work to basically be their legacy in the way somebody's children is their legacy, like
mhm.
living on through the work. And it's like in a way we really we only have the information of the people who did it before, like Renaissance and all, whomever, like all the paintings and stuff. So I mean, in that case, do you want your work to be able to stay, to not need preservation or like not break down, or do you care about this?
I very much care about this, because I think it's my duty to whoever looks at my paintings, if someone looks at my paintings after I die, that they get to see it the way I intended to. And I think it's important to put some care into the craft itself, just so it lives on. Just building or painting a painting that just lives in my lifetime, that's really not my intention. I want to paint for the future and the past, and that just comes with put work and good quality into my work.
Okay. All right. Yes. All right. So I mean, I do remember when I went to school myself, a teacher one time gave me a little bit of grief because I wasn't that careful about. I didn't necessarily care.
Mhm.
I wasn't thinking about the future necessarily, or just at all. I just wanted to make a thing that I had in mind, and I wanted to see it with my own eyes physically instead of just in my mind's eye. You know, that's kind of like one of the reasons for which I make work to begin with.
Mhm.
And I also like I had also the motive of wanting to reuse things, you know, like in this whole environmental sort of feeling. And I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna draw on cardboard or whatever it is, doesn't matter. I just want to make the thing, and I also want to be able to do this that I care about. Um, and the teacher was like, no, you should, you know, at least for presentational purposes, at the very least for presentation and stuff, you should definitely try to find better looking things or something. And it's like slowly, very slowly, I've come to appreciate the that whole thing about having, you know, putting the work over something good, over good material.
Mhm.
um and well, yeah, I mean, definitely to what you're saying about the work staying, so that art itself can also stay, you know. Okay. All right. So what is your work about?
Whew.
Or, you know, maybe currently, what is your work about?
Currently, my work is about improving enough, getting good enough, so I can actually start the work that I feel like I should be doing,
Uh-huh.
which I see in my mind's eye, but I do not yet have the ability to make manifest physically, just technically. And
Mm.
that's currently my goal, practicing and putting all these like little bits and pieces that I do get from what I want already into my work
Okay.
currently.
So what do you think you're lacking technically? Or, you know, what are you trying to polish? What are you trying to achieve technically that you think is necessary to be able to then make the things you have in mind?
Well, I'm mostly self-taught, or actually entirely self-taught, so I'm lacking very much anatomical skills, I
Okay.
would say, and just the whole process. I mean, I've been painting for roughly 3 to 4 years, and it's, even though I'm really now starting to get comfortable with it, it's just still every painting is a new challenge,
Mm.
really challenging, and that's what I'm trying to keep up in the
Mm-hmm.
first place. So my main concern is trying to make the new painting better than the other. What better um, means obviously technically, but also in terms of storytelling. So that's also something I try to improve.
Mm-hmm.
Just the way you paint a face, for example. It's just not just seeing a face, translating it onto a canvas. The way you see it in your head that's a very different uh, task, and that requires practice also.
Okay. All right. So, um, how are you practicing the anatomical aspect of what you're trying to get better at?
I'm trying to look at how the great painters before me approached the same problem of painting anatomically accurate, but while bending reality enough so it's actually improves on nature. That's what Rembrandt, especially later on, did. Actually make a leg larger or an arm longer, or
Mm-hmm.
make something completely disappear in the background even though it should be there. So it just works on the composition. So it's this play between anatomy and reality, and something something more than reality.
So in that case, was Rembrandt's intent, I mean, his intention, was it really to improve upon nature?
Well,
Or is that like, how you perceive it, like your opinion?
I guess I can't say for sure, but he was not a naturalist painter, definitely. So naturalists probably they try to stay true to nature,
Mm-hmm.
while painters which are concerned with drama and storytelling, they try to combine these more archetypal and storytelling aspects together with reality and try to blend them with together. And in that sense, it would be improving on nature, or if you see that as improvement, I do,
Mm-hmm.
to make nature more archetypal, more strips down to its bare bones.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So,
Well,
for example,
uh,
sunset is not just a sunset. If you paint a sunset, it is all the sunsets you have seen in your life, all the most beautiful sunsets. And that's what you're trying to paint, not just the one that you see before you.
yes. Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And that specific bit there makes a lot of sense. Um, like, I mean, I like to draw the figure, so then it makes a lot of sense that each time that I draw a new figure, I'm trying to draw all of the most beautiful ones I've seen, or something about them at least. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. That seems that sounded really, I don't know, resonated a lot just now. That seemed important. Um, okay. All right. So, what is art, Nick?
Um, well, I do not consider myself to be an artist, at least yet. Or I don't think I have the right to call myself that. But and I also can't define what art is in any way, shape, or form. But what I think what we mean with art is the what we what humans create that has meaning, and that brings the inner and the external worlds together. So essentially, um, beauty created by us, by humans, by our consciousness,
Mm.
which, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um,
I guess it's us trying to look for something. I think art should never, or is never really a statement. It's more of a question.
Uh-huh. Okay. Okay. Um, okay, so that same I was writing it down because I liked that a lot just now. Um, the idea, or at least searching for something as a facet and an aspect or an important characteristic of art has come up several times in previous episodes. Um, and I really like that a lot. Um, I think the human characteristic of curiosity, or the human feeling or impetus of curiosity, of searching, of looking for something and asking questions, is taken for granted and seldom used. Um, so
It's
I,
funny that you mention that because I'm currently reading Faust and I'm currently working on a Faust painting, and that's essentially what saves Faust in the end from Mephisto, the devil. What saves him is that the godly virtue is to always look, always search, and never just rest or give up or stay in this moment for a little while. That's not what humans are made for. And that's what will always keep us looking.
okay, that's awesome. A life saving characteristic. That's pretty great.
Life
Um,
sustaining, I would say.
what's that?
Life sustaining.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, because I mean, it's definitely that curiosity, or like that desire to keep looking for either something else or something better or anything, is like arguably, the reason for which we've, technology and just inventing stuff, new things, better things in some cases. And it's also what allows us to just rediscover something that was forgotten or
Mhm.
disregarded in another occasion. So it's like it's remaining curious, or not taking the what one currently knows as just par for the course, or like, all right, that's what it is. Questioning, being curious about what you think you already know, like, also still is fruitful.
Mhm.
Okay. So in that case, what do you think you're looking for in your work, or with art?
I've been thinking about that recently. Um, it could be sort of religious thing, even
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
looking for God not through a religion, but in a little bit deeper sense, something that's universal and true,
mm-hmm.
and that's true for objectively true for all of us, all humans. That's that's what I'm looking for. Something that is true. Yeah.
Okay.
Truer than just a fact,
Yeah, yeah.
but not worldly true, but something that's yeah. Uh, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah.
Would you say is there an example of something that approximates the truth that you're talking about in, I don't know, a painting by Rembrandt, or something that you've done so far, one of your paintings so far? like I mean, what I really want to ask for is an example of the truth that you're talking about. Because I mean, I'm aware that it's not of the style of like math, for example, or like geometry, perhaps. I mean, that's what I'm understanding from what you
Those
from what
are
you said.
those are worldly truths, I would say, and they're also true. But I think there are things that are more true. And a specific painting, I've recently, I guess a good example in this case would be a painting by Caspar David Friedrich, the Wanderer, looking out into the distance. I don't know
Uh-huh.
what the exact name is, but this painting strikes me to be it's something that's out of time and everyone can relate to in some way, shape, or form.
Mhm.
But I don't know why I used that example. It just strikes me as a good one.
Okay, I am gonna look for that in a bit, and if I can't, and I'll ask you afterwards also to make
Mhm.
sure it's the painting you're talking about. Um, okay, so I think you were doing like a ask me questions or something recently on Instagram,
Mhm.
and there was somebody asked you about what kind of stuff you don't put in your paintings, and you mentioned smartphones because it dates the work. Um, what does dating the work mean exactly, and how do you make in that case? What would you consider makes a painting or a work of art timeless?
Someone from the past, many hundreds or thousands of years ago, wouldn't understand what a smartphone is.
Mm.
Um, and again, many hundreds or thousands of years in the future, they also probably would think, ah, yeah, this old antique thing that's
Yeah,
entirely irrelevant in our time. So I could put it in to appeal to the people living now,
sure.
but I would rather make the sacrifice of not doing that and keeping the painting timeless in the sense that it, it's not bound to this time. It can go to any time
Mm.
and can be entirely separated from me. It doesn't need me, it just works on its own. And just stripping the painting down to its bare bones. So putting the people in clothes that also doesn't date them,
Mhm.
but makes it clear that this is clothes.
Okay. But then what do you think in that case of the argument or the statement or whatever about an artist being of his time? And because, for example, I mean, I'm inclined to agree with you about not putting certain objects from like our time, quote unquote, including the cell phones. I mean, I have no problem, and just I really don't have an interest in putting them in my work because I'm not entirely sure why, other than maybe I'm a little bit annoyed by them.
Well, as a
um,
critique, for example, that would be
not including
a
them, right?
reason. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
no,
Okay.
no, you could put him in as a social critique, for example. That's also use of art, but that's what it is essentially. It's a different art form almost. Critique through images.
Mm.
That would
Yeah.
be a use for it. Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose so. I suppose so. It's just that it does. I mean, I'm currently not able to explain why, but it does seem. I'm inclined. to think it's important to not have them there, but at the same time, someone out there has said, and I think actually in a previous episode somebody said that art, one of the purposes of art is effectively to record the time in which it was made. Like, so art also serves, artistic imagery also serves as a record of the time in which it was
Mhm.
made. And there is such art before where you have historical painting
Mhm.
where they're specifically depicting historical scenes, so
Mhm.
that dates that work.
Mhm.
um even if I don't necessarily know when it was happening or what it was happening at the time, it's still because I see, oh, guys and horses, it's like, oh yeah, cars didn't exist,
Mhm.
or guys using swords, guns didn't exist, so this kind of stuff. um I suppose. And that really didn't occur to me until just now. It's like, swords and guns and cars and horses in a way are the smartphones of their time in a way, you know.
Mhm.
But they chose to put that stuff there anyway. So like I guess those are two arguments about what the duty of art is.
I wouldn't. I have a problem with putting it into the same pot essentially, because that also has its use, and it's really really important to do that. It's
Mm,
just not what I personally do. I could do it, but
mm,
that's not what I'm looking for. Some are trying to looking for this, and that's really important work what they do. It's important to capture the spirit of our time,
mm,
and it's important that it's here. It's just not something I'm interested in for myself to explore. So no, I have no hatred or contempt for people who do it.
mm. Okay, no, that's
I
fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, no, that's fair. Um, yeah, I mean, I guess I wasn't trying to insinuate necessarily that there's the one way that art must be
Yeah.
or something. So that's, yeah, that's a really good reminder that for you personally, like that's what you choose to do at the now, like that's what you're doing with it. Yeah, that's a really good reminder, thank you for that. Because I tend to be, I don't know why I feel the need in some cases to be really deterministic about something. And nothing necessarily has to be, nothing in particular has to be deterministic. It's like, you choose the one thing for your work at the moment. You might change your mind in the future, who knows? Or I might change my mind now and start just drawing cell phones, who knows? All right. Okay, so
Essentially, I think art can go in two directions almost, to various degrees. Art concerning the outside world, your time,
mhm,
and participating in the creation of culture. But it can also go inwards and something that is outside of time, and or at least is not doesn't have time in the way we perceive it nowadays, not linear but more circular.
mhm,
And I think the one is more concerned with the time, and the other one is a little bit, and that's a gross. But yeah, that's just the direction I chose, or currently, I hope that's the right direction to choose, and I think it is for me to go into the direction of inwards, not outwards.
mhm. But based on what you were saying earlier, do you think you're really choosing to do that?
I don't think so, no.
Right.
I think it chooses me
Yeah,
to
yeah,
speak,
yeah.
to speak in Jungian terms.
Okay, yes. I mean, that could arguably be a little bit scary, but I also think it's cool.
At the same time, I'm also I don't want to I don't like the term genius or anything, which
Hmm.
some people would apply to that. The arts, the eternal calls this
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
specific person, and I also don't. That it's just some people are more um, connected to the inner, and some are more connected to the outer.
Mhm.
And you just have to really listen to yourself and follow your instincts, and don't go against yourself. It just never, it never works. You will lose that battle.
Yeah, it definitely makes things unnecessarily difficult
Mhm.
at the at the very least. Okay.
Well, life is also too short. Fighting
Yes.
against yourself, that's very much energy wasted in that case.
Yes. Absolutely. Okay. All right. So, Mr. Senium, what is art? What is beauty? What is beauty in your opinion?
Mm, I wrote it down recently after you asked me the question in the first place. Now I can't remember the answer.
Uh-huh.
I think beauty is something that's very much bound to humans specifically, and our ability or curse to have consciousness.
Mhm.
An animal, for example, doesn't have any sense of beauty, I would say. I would think, I don't know, but
Mhm.
humans have that very much so. And I think what beauty is essentially is the recognition that something is very deep and meaningful on a very profound level, which manifests it in the outside world.
Uh-huh.
That, how could you describe that a little bit?
No, no, no. Okay, okay, okay. So let me see. Okay, so I'm gonna try to repeat. All right. So you said recognizing something is deep and meaningful.
That's something, that's why many people often say, oh, beauty is objective or beauty is subjective. It just,
Mhm.
I think, in my opinion, it depends on what level you see it. There is such a thing as subjective beauty,
Mhm.
and that's often culturally bound, I would say. But there is also something that is objective beauty, something that is entirely separated from how you grew up, time,
Mhm.
and it has its evolutionary. Um,
The objective one,
I
or
think
both?
both probably. It has its evolutionary aspects, definitely. For example, symmetry. But you could also go the, I don't know, route of it's it's little pieces, little snippets of God in the material world. Something that is very much bigger than us and binds us together. God, not in the um, religious word meaning, perhaps,
Uh-huh.
or also, but yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I mean, you've mentioned either divinity or God in both, like when I asked you about art, or when you, I think it was when I asked you about art. That it doesn't matter. The thing is that you've mentioned it before, and you're bringing up divinity now. So, like, what would you say is the role? I mean, what? Why are you using these, commonly religious? I mean, not that you're necessarily religious or anything, and not that there's anything wrong if you are, but uh, I guess using the term religious limits it to religion, and divinity doesn't have to necessarily be bound to religion. So what what is the divine, and what is the, I guess, what is the divine to you, and what is the relationship between it, art, and beauty for you?
To the first, I don't know.
uh,
Something that strikes me to be true.
okay.
If something's true, something is divine, true in a deep sense. in a profound sense. And also, yeah, I don't know. I would like to leave it at that, perhaps. In relationship to art, I think I like the parable of the blind man and the elephant. If you know that story of
I don't.
the blind man's, I think it's an Indian story, but I could be wrong. It's a story about a group of blind men touch this object. It's a really big object, and one touches the trunk, and it's clearly a snake. And one touches the leg, and it's a tree stump. And one strokes the hair, or it says it's, I don't know, a lion. And one touches the back and says it's a rock. And all of them are essentially wrong because it's an elephant. But
Yeah.
only if they come together, they would perhaps get to this point of, oh yeah, that's okay, that's an elephant. So in a way, us humans don't really have, as an individual, or even as a whole society, or even as a whole time or generation, or many generations, we don't have the ability to say what is God, or what is ultimate truth, or what is the meaning of life, because what we have to do, and what's in my opinion, the cause of consciousness, or the duty of consciousness, and us being on this earth being conscious, is looking and getting together with previous humans and humans in the future, and just all saying, okay, what could this be? Or if we ever going to discover it, I don't know. Who knows? Perhaps, maybe not.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I enjoy that. Not just the parable, which I didn't know of it, but also as like extrapolated to all of humanity. That it's like, it's I don't know if it's trendy in Germany, but it's kind of trendy here in the United States, and lots of places where it's like, yeah, this is the way it is, and that's just how it is, and this is wrong and this is right and stuff, and it's like it's such a good it's cool. It's I just enjoy pointing out, you're pointing out that effectively the truth of just basically anything is not necessarily discovered or discoverable, and if we are going to discover it, we have to be curious and look for it, and basically be the opposite of deterministic about
Well,
whatever ideas.
we're going to look for it if we want it or not. Going the
Yeah.
wrong direction is also, if you're in the end of your life and you see that you didn't arrive at any point that satisfies you, you can also get out of it that you just went the wrong direction. That's also an answer, and that will also
Yes.
help out the people to go into the right direction.
Yes.
And I would also like to add that I think there are sub-truths. So there are certainly aspects that are very much bound to our time, and very much important to talk about, discuss about, this whole meta thing of looking for eternal truth. That's a good overall project, but it's also important to be aware and live in our times and make sure humanity can actually go on.
Sure. Of
So
course.
yeah.
Okay. Yes, I agree with you. All right. So we have hit the 50-minute mark, Mr.
Mhm.
Senium, and I like this, what we're musing about here, as an ending, closing thoughts. So Nick, please tell our viewers and listeners what you're up to lately and where your work can be found. If there's or any project that you have, any specific project, just anything you want to talk about in particular.
I've been working for some time, unfortunately, on a Patreon account
Uh-huh.
to offer some educational content, but
Okay.
that's also, I made promises before and I couldn't keep them. So this time I would say in the near future. In terms of painting, I'm currently working on way too many paintings simultaneously.
Uh-huh.
The current one I'm fascinated with the most is my Faust painting, Faust and Mephisto, and where people can find me is mostly just on Instagram, on Nick Senium.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, okay. And I'm kind of curious about this Patreon thing you said. Well, how long have you had it and what has your experience been with it?
I didn't even launch it yet.
Ah, I see.
Just
Okay.
worked on it and had some plans with it, which I bit off more than I could chew. Didn't
Okay.
work out, and now I'm toning it down a bit, and I'm probably will offer one-on-one sessions, a few live sessions, and an overall course on perhaps not for beginners, but an overall course for portrait painting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, that sounds good. And I think yeah, bringing it to a level that you can work on it consistently is a really good idea. I hope that
Yeah,
works out for you. It sounds great.
thank you.
And yeah, and I also I'm also really excited for that Odd Nerdrum school that you're going to go to. That's
Oh
awesome.
yeah, it's going
Yeah,
to be amazing.
it
Hopefully.
is. Yes, I have no doubt that it will. Yeah, I mean, it's like I think it's going to be great.
Mhm.
Okay, so well then, thank you, Nick, for joining me. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your words and for your thoughts. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Feel free to let Nick and I know what you think of this conversation in the comments section. I also invite you to subscribe to my audiovisual channel because more of these conversations are coming. I also invite you to like this video and share it with any and all pertinent individuals. If you want to support Nick, myself, this podcast, or all three, the links will be in the video description. See you next time. Thank you, everyone. Bye.